all the past versions of yourself are the fertilizer for who you are today. Every single version from the past became a fertilizer for who you are. And that information and that knowledge, embodiment of that knowledge, is something that holds many people back on their journey of healing. They think that they're letting go of the past. They think that they're fully embracing the future. But in reality, they're stuck in the same pattern. So if you're still here, perhaps it's the time for you to go a little bit deeper on yourself, to actually examine, have you fully let go of the versions of yourself and understand with love and compassion that they were the fertilizers for you, just as you of today will become a fertilizer for the future improved versions of yourself. So let's dive a little deeper. The reason so many people skip that on their journey of healing is because two mechanisms of the ego come online when we try to let go. So the first mechanism is denial, and the second mechanism is a projection. So when we talk about denial, it's the part of our ego that is trying to convince us that it's already okay. We've let that go. We've processed that, right? This is where the ego is afraid to go a little bit deeper, to go on yet another rodeo for each wound, for each trauma, for each thing from the past that we still label as mistake, weakness, lack of alignment, right? And we still feel like it was actually our past version of ourselves, maybe wasting time, maybe I could have figured it out sooner, maybe I could have exited that relationship sooner, maybe I could have figured certain things out sooner. And that creates that shame towards past version of yourself. So the denial is a natural mechanism of human ego. We do this with literally everything, even in our physical world, with conflicts, with other people. It's just so much easier to sweep things under the rug and say, it's okay, I really don't mind, I understand, yes, I've seen the lesson, I've learned the lesson. But then when it comes to actually embodying that emotion, this is where we fail. And this is where the next mechanism come online, which is a projection. But with projection, you can actually have two situations when you can examine, have you fully let go of the past version of yourself? Because that emotion, whenever it is triggered towards the past version of yourself, when it will try to come online, the projection mechanism will start to do a specific thing and project it on others, or project it onto the side of light. So to mask it is actually something good that is fueling the you of today, to prevent the ego from realizing that you have still not let go of the past. I'm going to give you two examples. How we react onto someone, a situation, a person, whether it's non-direct or direct, to shame us for the past version of ourselves, right? So let's say there's something that you did in the past, whatever that is. It may be that you chose your past romantical partner poorly, and it wasn't actually a karmic connection that brought a lot of pain into your life. Or perhaps in the past you didn't love your body enough, you didn't love Mother Earth enough, which was reflected in the choices for your lifestyle. So your diet, your how the sustainable living, and so on and so forth, right? So now you know all these things, and let's say that someone is trying to shame that within you. So comes in a conversation, it says, how can you give this advice, or how can you say this and this? Oh, you're such a wise ass, but in the past you yourself did that. How you react to that is that first indication of what is the actual relationship with the past self. So what you have to observe here, to go a little bit deeper, it's not just the actual reaction, but what emotion it brings. Because some people, yes, they will react with aggression, with frustration, with how can you say this, like I've changed, which is number one clear indication that you have not let go to the past version of self, because you are getting defensive. But some people will already developed that self-awareness that will allow them to control themselves, and in a situation, sort of internally self-soothe and say, oh, it's okay, they're just trying to shame me. I know that it's not true, and you won't react. But in reality, this will trigger an emotion. So you have to observe yourself for a little longer. Do I actually think about the situation? Did it cause any kind of emotion within me? Because if someone is trying to shame you for something that you have fully accepted, fully released, fully let go of, there should be no reaction. And even if reaction is there, because we are human beings and we are emotional beings, we should be able to let go of that emotion within a couple of hours. So if it holds on, if it sticks around, it's because there's still something that links you energetically to that past version of yourself. So in that moment, that self-observation is going to be very important. And a second exercise that you can do and observe within yourself to examine the relationship with the past self is how you react to people who do what you used to do. So again, let's take that example of you chose your past romantical partner poorly, which caused a lot of pain and a lot of turmoil in your life. You now know that this was a karmic relationship. How do you react when women or men in your life, in front of your eyes, especially those that you love and care about, commit the same mistake without seeing the same that it is a mistake? Again, we're not calling these mistakes, they're actually lessons. And here's the actual kicker. If you understand that this is a lesson, just like it was a lesson for me that had to happen to become a fertilizer of me of today, perhaps it's a lesson for this person to become a fertilizer for the future improved version of themselves. If you fully understand the meaning of lessons, if you don't deem them as mistakes but as lessons, you will just exist in your current version of self, and you will maybe try to, invite someone to contemplation. You will encourage someone to contemplation. You will try to show that there are better ways. You will share your experience, because it's also our job to, through our lessons, make that easier for future generations, but you won't react emotionally. So if you see that someone is committing the mistakes that you used to make, right, in the sense of poor relationship choices, poor diet choices, maybe now you're vegetarian, they still eat meat, whatever you react with, right? If you still react with frustration, with aggression, with wanting to have a heated discussion with this person, or you react with sadness. So you sit down and why are people do these things? Why are they not seeing their lessons? Why this and that? So there's, again, the emotional overwhelm over your system is because you are projecting the feelings that you still have towards the past version of yourself, and your psyche is trying to deny them. So the moment something is triggering, it creates that mechanism to help you actually see, hold on, that frustration, that anger, that disappointment, that sadness, it's not actually towards this person, but it's actually towards the past version of myself. So let's have a little chat about why is this so important? Why is it so important for me to actually let go of the past? Not just the past version of yourself, but anything in your past that you have not let go of. So you still have emotions towards that thing. Again, your ego may not realize that there are emotions towards that thing because your ego is in denial and your ego is projecting. But as long as you send an emotion towards the past version of self, aggression, frustration, sadness, disappointment, shame, a very powerful low vibration emotion, you are creating an energetic cord with the past. And similarly, I teach this to you guys, that it's the same mechanism that we do with the past people in our life, right? So we have those exes, we have those past friends, those past bosses, those past people that cause us pain, that cause us really a lot of turmoil in our life. Many people sort of forces themselves again into the denial of, yeah, let go, they're part of my past. But the moment they hear their name, there's aggression, there's resentment, there's frustration, there's anger, there's shame, there's sadness, there's heartbreak. Emotion that you produce creates an energetic cord between you, the present you, and the past. So part of your energy through that emotion and through that energetic cord is connected to the past. So two things will happen. First thing is, our bodies and our egos operate on an autopilot and operate on a level of subconsciousness for most part, right? So the actual journey of healing is bringing all those mechanisms, bringing all those emotions, bringing all those the knowledge into the awareness, right? So we are consciously taking every choice and reacting for every emotion. No denial, no projection. That's the whole purpose, right, of the journey of healing. So when we are still in denial, right, but we do have those energetic cords, and we deny those emotions, trying to convince ourselves that, no, I'm okay, it's all closed, I'm moving forth. But we still hold resentment, again, anger, sadness, whatever emotion, towards the past version of ourselves. We don't fully embody the feeling that this was the fertilizer. Thank you with love, kindness, and compassion. I love you. I thank you for your weakness, for your mistakes, because I know that you were doing the best you could to bring me where I am today. If we don't fully embody this emotion, what is happening is that we are sending a signal to our psyche, to our subconscious mind, to our ego, that we are not understanding the continuum of growth and the continuum of progress. And the ego then will be afraid to move forth, because the ego will think, okay, well, if we are shaming the past version of ourselves for from where we are now, if we move forth and we let go of the ways that we have today to yet again expand and improve, we're going to do the same thing again. We're going to shame who we are now. And the ego in the now always wants to be perfect, because it's yet another illusion of the system. We are sort of programmed to be best and to be perfect, because we're not fully embracing what the soul understands, which is the newbie effect, right? That we're always learning, that we're always expanding, that the me of today will cease to exist tomorrow if I choose to grow. But if we cannot let go of the past, it will be constantly holding us back, and our ego will be resistant to move forth, because it will resist the transformation. And every transformation is an actual energetic death and rebirth. And you have to remember that it's the ego that is rooted in the frequency of mortality, in the frequency of this too shall pass, whereas the soul is the one that is eternal. So the soul, being eternal essence, embraces the transformation of the external shell, whereas the external shell is resistant, because it wants to go on, it wants to exist, it wants to persevere, right? So the more you are holding on and holding that negative, low vibrational relationship with the past versions of yourself, not loving, you're convincing the ego of today that the moment I'll get rid of you, we're going to shame you again. So it's going to hold on, and it's going to hold you from that future growth. And then another thing that is actually happening when you're holding on to the past versions of self with that negative emotion is that for as long as you're holding on, you are yet again sending a signal to your existence that you haven't fully understood what is the meaning of lessons. This wasn't weakness. This wasn't mistakes. It was just a version of you that went through certain things, through certain wounds, certain traumas, and didn't yet have the time and the capacity to accept that. And they were doing the best they could. And that lesson that you call mistake, that you're shaming, was actually needed for you to become who you are now. Just like the one from you will be needed for the future. It's just the stepping stones. Again, seeing it as a continuum. So if you're not accepting that, again, you're sending a signal to your subconscious mind that you're not fully understanding the lesson. And if you're not fully understanding the lesson, you know what's going to happen. There's going to be another one in different shape, in different form. So you can fully, it's this it's this constant lesson of humility in reality, always, that we're being sent, right? Humility is such an important frequency that we need to embrace on this journey, to completely release judgment towards ourselves and towards others. Only when we completely release judgment, again, you can send motivation to course correct towards yourself of today, towards others. So collectively, we create a better world. So let's save that. Let's raise that issue. Let's talk about this. Sometimes say to someone, hey, you could do better, just like you say this to yourself. But if it comes with shame and if it comes with judgment, you are dissolving that continuum. You are dissolving that emotion of oneness. You are dissolving that newbie sort of energy. And you're again holding this imaginative, non-existent level of perfection, and you're shaming everyone that is not here, and that's preventing you from going upwards, right? So when you hold that shame, when you hold that judgment, you keep yourself stuck in the patterns of karma. And for the moment you are keeping yourself stuck in the place of karma because you're not welcoming lessons as lessons, not mistakes, with open hearts to learn and grow and to be on that continuum, you will never move towards your dharma. It is only when we fully let go of the past, which is fully letting go of the karma, dissolving all the cords that link us to our past versions of ourselves, past timelines, dissolved timelines, whatever is still energetically connecting you to the past with that low vibrational emotion. So anything but love, compassion, humility, you are keeping yourself on a frequency of karma, and you're not allowing yourself to move towards your dharma, which is our northern star, which is where we want to go towards as per the blueprint of our soul from the very first incarnation, from the very first moment we live this human experience, right? This highest, most abundant timeline of all, karma, the highest destiny, the highest destiny of your soul. I think that's everything that I wanted to mention about that topic, about letting go of the past, how we are convincing ourselves that it's already happened, but it haven't. I've given you some exercise. I've given you some points to contemplate on. So yeah, keep connecting to the past versions of yourself, keep going deeper, keep having that open heart, keep having that mentality of newbie, of continuum. It's all just a spiral. There's again, it's the linearity, that is the illusion of the ego. There is no past, there is no future, right? It's just all is, and you have to embrace it all and love it all to allow yourself to grow and to expand.